At resort check-in, my booking got canceled. Family stepped ahead to the luxury suite, and brother texted, "Nothing different for you." So I replied, "Enjoy your stay." A week later, they returned to changed locks. The air itself shimmered with the promise of escape at Pine Ridge Resort, 3 hours north of the city, a sanctuary cradled by ancient mountains. Views there weren't just seen. They were earned. Vistas people mortgaged their dreams to glimpse, booked months in advance, then meticulously split 5 ways to dull the financial sting. My share? A brutal $960 committed back in November. My Honda Civic, a metallic whisper amidst their roaring luxury, crunched into the parking lot late Friday afternoon. Already, the gleaming chrome of my parents' Lexus caught the fading light near the grand entrance, its trunk yawning open like a hungry maw. My brother, Derek, a smirk already playing on his lips, leaned against his colossal F-150, his laughter echoing across the asphalt, weaving with Mom's. I lifted my hand, a silent, hopeful semaphore through the windshield. No return. No acknowledgement. 7 years. 7 years of this silent protocol, if anyone was counting. I wrestled my duffel from the back seat, the weight of it a familiar burden, and walked toward the luminous rectangle of the lobby doors. Through the glass, I watched them, a perfect tableau of family bliss, vanish into the elevator, their luggage trailing behind like dutiful shadows. They didn't wait. They didn't glance back, not even a fleeting flicker to see if I was there. The front desk agent, a vision of polished professionalism, offered a bright, practiced smile as I approached, her gaze scanning the confirmation email on my phone. Then, the almost imperceptible tremor. Her expression didn't curdle into rudeness or apology, but fractured into that peculiar, unsettling confusion, the kind that blooms when reality clashes violently with a digital truth. She scanned it again, her fingers hovering. "I'm so sorry, sir, but this reservation, it shows as canceled." The words didn't just land. They struck a cold, precise blow that resonated deeper than any monetary loss. "That's not possible. I paid 2 months ago." Her monitor tilted, a silent accusation, highlighting a stark red line at the bottom. "The primary account holder removed you from the booking. Wednesday, 3:47 p.m. My stomach didn't plummet for the lost money. It cratered from the sudden, brutal clarity of the realization. I spun, my gaze lashing back towards the glass doors, to the space where the elevator had been. They were already upstairs, unpacking, settling into a suite I'd helped fund. My phone vibrated in my hand, a venomous buzz. A text from Derek. "Nothing new for you, Jake. Always the odd one out. Enjoy the drive home." I stared at the screen, the cruelty of the words searing themselves into my retinas, reading them twice to ensure their stark reality. The agent shifted her weight, a subtle dance of discomfort, clearly trapped in the swirling vortex of a family drama not her own. "Would you like me to check availability for a single room?" I didn't dignify it with a response. My fingers moved with cold, deliberate precision. 3 words. "Enjoy your stay." Sent. Then, without a backward glance, without another syllable, I turned and walked back to my car. I sank into the driver's seat, a solid minute ticking by without the engine's purr, the silence amplifying the echo of their betrayal. Then a slow, methodical reach into the back seat. My laptop. 7 years ago. My parents, then, were on the precipice of a dream, needing a down payment for their house, $72,000 they simply didn't have, but needed to seal the deal. I was 24, fresh, green, in my first real job as a financial analyst, 2 years of meticulous saving weighing heavy in my bank account. I handed them the full amount. In return, 20% ownership, a meticulously documented, notarized deed bearing my name, filed away at the county recorder's office. That same year, I became their silent manager, setting up all their autopay accounts, mortgage, escrow, utilities, electric, gas, water, internet, Netflix, Spotify, car insurance. All routed through my credit card, my name etched as the primary account holder. Makes things easier for us, Jake, they'd cooed. The Family Emergency Fund, a shared savings account, held $38,000. My contributions, from bonuses and tax returns over the years, totaled $31,000. Theirs? A paltry $7,000. Then came the loans. $8,000 for Derek's DUI lawyer 3 years prior. $5,000 for Dad's truck transmission 2 years back. $8,000 for Mom's dental implants last year. A staggering $21,000. Never repaid. Always the same refrain. We'll get you back next month, Jake. Just tight right now. Next month was a phantom. But the midnight phone calls? Those were brutally real. Pleas for help with bills they couldn't cover. Whispers for money they were too proud to admit needing. Demands to fix problems quietly so nobody else in the family had to know they were struggling financially. I was their bedrock. The unacknowledged safety net. The backup plan they only remembered when the world crumbled. Last birthday? Not a single text from any of them. My thumb flew across my banking app, logging into the Family Emergency Savings Account. Balance: $38,142.67. 3 clicks. Transferred every last penny to my personal checking. New balance: $0. The confirmation email pinged, a digital guillotine, a few seconds later. I closed the laptop, the screen reflecting my grim resolve. Started the car, but didn't head home. Instead, I drove straight to their house. Dark. Empty. Just as it should be. 3 hours away while they basked in a resort suite from which they'd unilaterally excised me. My key, a phantom limb, found the lock. Inside, the living room air was still, heavy with their absence. I moved through it, a ghost in my own home, straight to Dad's office. The filing cabinet, unlocked as always, a testament to his supreme confidence that no one would ever dare. First, the co-ownership deed. My name, Jake Reynolds, 20% owner, stark in black ink. Phone click. Down payment receipt. $72,000 check, my signature bold at the bottom. Click. 3 separate loan agreements. Derek's legal fees, Dad's truck, Mom's dental work, all bearing my signature, all marked unpaid. Click. 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 The original house purchase contract, notarized, filed 7 years ago. Click. Every document, uploaded to cloud storage, secured in the digital ether. Then, with painstaking precision, I returned each paper to its exact original place. No physical theft. No disturbed order. Only documentation. If this turned legal, I would be ready. I walked out, locked the door behind me, and drove to my apartment. Chinese takeout. Lu mein, eaten straight from the container. The laptop screen casting an eerie blue glow across my kitchen. The family group chat, muted weeks ago after I realized I was the only one ever asking about anyone else, began to flicker with notifications around 8 p.m. Derek's post, a luxury suite living room. Stone fireplace, crackling warmth. Floor-to-ceiling windows framing a mountain vista. Leather furniture, worth more than my car. A balcony hot tub, steaming invitingly into the evening air. His caption, finally, a peaceful vacation without dead weight dragging us down. Followed by a smug, smiling emoji. I took a screenshot, saved it to a folder labeled Evidence. Then I began to dig. Property law. Co-ownership rights. Legal remedies for shared real estate. Eviction procedures for joint property holders. One section leaped out. A co-owner may file for partition or reclaim occupancy with 72-hour written notice to other occupants. 72 hours. My eyes flickered to the calendar. Friday night, almost 9 p.m. If I filed the paperwork Monday morning, enforcement would be legal by Thursday at 8 a.m. I pulled up the utility accounts. Mortgage, escrow, electric, gas, water, internet, every streaming service they indulged in. My finger hovered over the cancel buttons. Not yet. Monday would be soon enough. I leaned back in my chair, Derek's Instagram post still glaring from my screen, that arrogant caption burning itself into my memory. They thought this was over. Thought I'd quietly retreat, swallow another bitter disappointment, and plaster on a brave face, just as I always had. They were celebrating right now. Back at the resort, Derek, triumphant, poured wine into 3 shimmering glasses. In the master bedroom of the suite, my parents unpacked. Mom, Linda, 56, her graying hair a secret she meticulously dyed every 6 weeks, set her suitcase on the pristine duvet. I feel a little guilty about Jake, she sighed, but this is really nice. Dad, Tom, 58, retired early on money I'd helped provide, merely shrugged, hanging shirts in the opulent closet. He'll understand eventually. He always does. Derek, lounging against the granite kitchen counter, handed them their glasses. He didn't even text back. See? He's totally fine with it. Linda took a delicate sip, her gaze drifting toward the panoramic window. We still could have told him earlier instead of just canceling Wednesday. Why? Derek's voice was laced with an impatient sneer. He would have made it awkward. You know how he gets when he feels left out. Tom nodded, examining the wine label with studied indifference. This trip needed to be just us. Real family time. Without complications. Derek raised his glass, a silent toast to the ceiling. To new traditions. Their glasses clinked, a fragile sound of manufactured unity, and they drank. Half an hour later, room service arrived. Steaks, mashed potatoes, chocolate lava cake for dessert. $287 effortlessly charged to Derek's credit card. Netflix streamed an action movie, Spotify a smooth jazz soundtrack. Everything to them was perfect, because they had no idea. No idea the emergency fund was a barren wasteland. No idea I'd meticulously documented every legal secret in Dad's cabinet. No idea I was 3 clicks away from dismantling the very infrastructure of their lives. They believed they'd secured a victory, a petty triumph born of cutting me out. Derek even posted another Instagram story at 10 p.m. 3 wine glasses, silhouetted against a mountain sunset, molten orange and purple. Caption: to new traditions. Cheers. I sat alone in my apartment, empty takeout containers scattered like casualties across my table, the laptop screen bathing the walls in an indifferent blue. I watched their celebration unfold through their curated social media posts. Derek's smug captions, Mom's feigned relief, Dad's practiced indifference. They thought canceling my reservation was just another disappointment I'd silently absorb. Another moment where I'd be the understanding one, the one who never ruffled feathers or caused trouble. 7 years. 7 years of being their financial scaffolding. 7 years of those desperate midnight calls. 7 years of meticulously constructing the safety net they were now blissfully standing on, utterly oblivious to its architect. But tonight, they made one critical mistake. They assumed I needed them more than they needed me. By Monday, that safety net would vanish. And when they fell, I wouldn't be there to catch them. Saturday morning dawned, a stark, unwelcome reality. Derek surfaced around 9, his mind still muzzy from the previous night's wine, his hand instinctively reaching for his phone. He scrolled through the usual digital detritus, notifications, Instagram likes, then tapped open his banking app. A casual check on the damage room service had wrought. The emergency fund blared first in his account list. Balance, $0. He blinked, refreshed the screen, a flicker of disbelief crossing his face. Still 0. He tapped on the transaction history, his thumb beginning a nervous tremor. A single line, stark red, at the top. ACH transfer to J. Reynolds. $38,142.67. Completed. Oh my goodness, he breathed, the words escaping into the silent bedroom. He practically sprinted to his parents' suite, not bothering to knock. Dad sat at the small dining table, swathed in his bathrobe, sipping coffee, engrossed in his iPad. What's wrong? Derek shoved his phone across the table. The emergency account. Jake emptied it. Everything. Mom emerged from the bathroom, hair wrapped in a towel, her face blanching as the numbers registered. That's our money for emergencies. He can't just take it. Derek snatched his phone back, scrolling through the details again, as if the digits might magically reconfigure themselves with closer scrutiny. It's in his name. He's the primary account holder. We're just authorized users. Dad, in a desperate attempt to regain control, tried logging in on his own phone, typing the password they'd shared for years. Incorrect password. The screen glowed red. A digital rebuke. I had changed it Friday night, after the transfer. A fact Derek would piece together in the next 30 seconds, the dawning horror etched on his features. He jabbed out a text to me, all caps, a furious command. Put the money back. Sent. 10 agonizing seconds ticked by. No response. Meanwhile, 40 minutes from the resort, I sat in a bustling coffee shop, savoring breakfast, my phone buzzing incessantly with notifications I had no intention of acknowledging. The front desk called their suite around 11 a.m. Derek answered, still simmering with rage over the vanished funds, expecting some mundane housekeeping query. Mr. Reynolds, this is Marcus from the front desk. We need to settle the outstanding balance on your reservation. Derek toggled to speakerphone, letting his parents hear the absurdity. What outstanding balance? We paid the deposit. Yes, sir. But the deposit of $960 has been disputed by the cardholder. We still need to collect payment for the remaining 4 nights. That's $3,840. A silence, thick and suffocating, descended upon the suite, stretching for what felt like an eternity. Mom's eyes darted to Dad. Dad's to Derek. Derek stared at his phone as if it had personally betrayed him. The deposit was disputed? Yes, sir. This morning, around 8 a.m., the original cardholder filed a dispute claim with his bank, stating he did not authorize the charge and was removed from the reservation without his knowledge. I had done that, from my laptop, nursing my second cup of coffee, right after Derek's furious text. Derek snatched his wallet, fumbling for his credit card. Fine, put the rest on this. Marcus ran the card. I'm sorry, sir. This card was declined. Because Derek had maxed it out 6 months ago, a fact I knew from the single time he begged me for money to cover the minimum payment. Dad, his face a mask of escalating panic, handed over his own card, the one he used for everything. Try this. Marcus ran it. Sir, it's also declined. Because I had removed myself as a joint account holder Friday night, a subtle shift that had sent Dad's credit limit plummeting, my income being the invisible scaffolding that had qualified them for the higher limit in the first place. Mom, her hands trembling, dug through her purse, unearthing her card, the one linked to her retirement savings, a sacred reserve only for true emergencies. This one should work. It did. Marcus processed the payment, professional yet visibly uncomfortable with the unfolding domestic drama. Thank you, Mrs. Reynolds. Your balance is settled. We don't normally have payment issues with guests in this suite class, so I appreciate your understanding. Derek slammed the phone down without a goodbye. He disputed the deposit. Derek seethed. He's actively trying to ruin this trip. Mom sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. We just spent almost $4,000 we didn't plan on spending. Dad stared out the window at the stoic mountains, his jaw clenched, a new, unsettling understanding dawning in his eyes. This is about more than a vacation. 3 hours south, back at their dark, empty house, automated systems began their silent, methodical failure. The smart thermostat, a guardian of their climate, attempted its monthly autopay for the premium subscription that allowed remote control. Autopay declined. Service suspended. It reverted to basic mode. No remote access, no automated adjustments, just a cold, silent defiance. The internet router, a tiny red eye blinking in the living room corner, desperately tried to authenticate a payment that no longer existed. Their security system pinged an alert to Mom's email. Payment method failed. System will deactivate in 72 hours. The fancy garage door opener, with its smartphone control subscription, timed out after its monthly charge bounced. Subscription expired. Opener defaulted to manual mode only. Their neighbor, Sarah, a retired teacher who watered their plants and kept an eye on things, noticed the garage door hanging halfway open around noon. She sent a text to Mom. "Your garage has been open since last night. Is everything okay?" Mom saw it an hour later, a surge of panic tightening her chest. "Someone needs to go close the garage. What if someone breaks in?" Derek, still glued to his phone at the kitchen counter, shook his head. "I'm not driving 3 hours. We're here until Wednesday." Dad set his coffee cup down with an audible, exasperated thud. "Call Jake. He still has a key. After what he did." "No way," Derek scoffed. Mom looked between them, a desperate plea in her eyes, then grabbed her phone and tried calling me herself. Straight to voicemail. She didn't leave a message. Sunday morning, I returned to the resort, arriving around 10 a.m. I parked casually in the visitor section, a ghost in plain sight. I walked into the lobby, dressed in jeans and a North Face, my backpack slung with deliberate nonchalance over one shoulder. Casual, yet meticulously composed. Derek was halfway down the grand staircase, likely headed for his morning coffee, when his eyes snagged on me. He froze. "What are you doing here?" I continued toward the front desk, my gaze fixed forward. "Collecting something I left behind." He stalked across the lobby after me, his voice rising in volume and pitch. "You were never checked in. You don't have anything here." I ignored him, walking straight to the front desk, to a different agent this time, younger, her name tag proclaiming Ashley.
"Hi.
"I need to access Suite 304. I'm a co-owner on the reservation, and I left personal belongings there." Derek stepped up next to me, his presence a bristling wall of anger. "There's nothing of yours in our suite." I pulled a crisp, printed receipt from my jacket pocket, the confirmation email from November, my credit card charge starkly highlighted. "I paid $960 as a deposit. That makes me entitled to access." Ashley looked exquisitely uncomfortable, her eyes darting between us, trying to gauge if a scene was about to erupt. "Sir, I'd rather not get involved." Just then, the manager from Friday, the one who'd initially checked me in, emerged from his office. "What's the issue here?" I turned to him, my voice calm, controlled. "I paid for this reservation as part of a group booking. He canceled me without refunding my share. I'm here to collect my belongings that I left in the suite." Derek interjected, a desperate lie spilling from his lips. "He's lying. He didn't bring anything. He never checked in." I looked directly at the manager, not Derek. "Actually, I checked in Friday at 3 p.m. before the official check-in time. Dropped my bag in the suite, went to get dinner. When I came back at 4 p.m., I was canceled." The manager pulled something up on the front desk computer, scrolling through screens, his brows furrowed. "It shows a preliminary check-in at 3:04 p.m. under your name, Mr. Reynolds. Then a cancellation at 3:47 p.m. Derek's face flushed a furious red. "That's not." The manager held up a placating hand. "He has a legal right to collect property he left in the suite. I'll escort you both." The elevator ride was a tomb of silence. Derek stared at the glowing floor numbers. I watched our distorted reflections in the polished metal doors, the manager a stoic sentinel between us. "Suite 304. The manager knocked once, then used his master key, when silence was the only reply. Inside, Mom was reading on the couch, Dad absorbed in the TV. Both looked up as the door swung open. Mom's face shifted from confusion to dawning shock. "Jake, what are you?" I strode past them all, not a glance, not a word. This wasn't a conversation. This was a retrieval. I walked straight into the master bedroom, to the closet where I'd left my duffel Friday afternoon. Grabbed it from the top shelf, slung it over my shoulder. Dad appeared in the doorway, a bewildered specter. "You drove 3 hours for a bag?" I turned, pulling an envelope from my backpack, handing it to him. He opened it slowly, deliberately, unfolding the single page inside. His face, in the span of 10 seconds, morphed 3 times. Confusion, dawning comprehension, then stark, absolute horror. "What is this?" "I own 20% of your house. Read the deed if you need proof. I'm exercising my legal right to reclaim occupancy." You have until Thursday at 8 a.m. to vacate. Mom, her breath catching, stepped into the bedroom, reading over Dad's shoulder. Derek, behind them, finally understood the cold, crushing weight of what was unfolding. You can't evict us from our house. I looked at him directly for the first time since my arrival. It's not just yours. I co-own it. Check the contract you signed 7 years ago when I gave you $72,000. You gave me 20% ownership in exchange. I have every legal right to do this. Mom's voice, high and thin, bordered on a shriek. This is insane. You're doing this because we didn't invite you on a vacation? No, I stated, my voice chillingly calm. I'm doing this because you've treated me like an ATM for 7 years, then threw me away the second it was convenient. Dad held up the paper, his hand trembling slightly. We can fight this in court. You can try. But I have the deed, the down payment receipt, and a notarized contract, all filed with the county. Good luck. I walked out of the bedroom, through the stunned silence of the suite, and into the hallway. Derek followed, practically jogging to keep pace. This is petty. I pressed the down button, waiting for the doors to open.
No.
Petty is texting, nothing new for you, while I'm standing in a lobby with a canceled reservation. This is consequences. The elevator arrived. I stepped inside. Derek stood in the hallway, staring as the metal doors closed between us. An hour later, in their luxurious suite, Mom was openly sobbing on the couch. Dad paced near the window, his phone pressed to his ear. He'd called Richard, a family friend who practiced real estate law, explaining the situation in clipped, urgent sentences, constantly interrupted by Richard's probing questions. If he's on the deed as a co-owner and gave you written notice, he has legal standing. You'd need to buy him out or negotiate some kind of agreement. Dad stopped pacing abruptly. How much would a buyout cost? His 20% ownership is worth about $70,000 at current market value, maybe more if he argues appreciation. We don't have $70,000. He took our savings. That was legally his money if his name was on the account as primary holder. Derek snatched the phone. So, we just let him kick us out? There's nothing we can do. Richard's voice, tired and professional, emerged from the speaker. You can contest it in court, but that process takes months and costs money you don't have. In the meantime, if he gets a court order, you'll have to vacate by Thursday. Mom looked up from the couch, mascara streaking her face, a raw, desperate plea in her eyes. We have nowhere to go. Derek's apartment is too small. We can't afford a hotel long-term. Dad hung up without a word of farewell to Richard. They sat in stunned silence, surrounded by the opulent trappings of their luxury suite. Mountain views, gas fireplace, balcony hot tub. Their vacation, utterly shattered. I sat in my car in the resort parking lot, engine idling, watching the window of their suite 3 floors above. 3 figures, now just realizing they were no longer in control. I felt no swell of triumph, no vindictive joy in their panic. Only a cold, crystalline clarity. They had 72 hours to unravel their lives and find somewhere new to live. I had given them 7 years of my life, my money, my time. It seemed fair. I started the car and drove home, leaving them to their ruined vacation and their impossible deadline. The safety net was gone, and I wasn't there to catch them anymore. They cut their vacation brutally short, checking out before sunrise Monday morning. Suitcases crammed into the Lexus and Derek's truck, they drove the 3 hours back to the city in a strained, suffocating silence. Their first stop, Richard's law office, nestled in a converted historic building downtown, its exposed brick and expensive furniture screaming hourly rates they couldn't possibly afford. Richard reviewed the paperwork I'd left them, spreading the eviction notice across his polished mahogany desk, reading it twice. This is ironclad. He has legitimate co-ownership rights, filed with the county. Dad leaned forward, desperation in his voice. Can we stop the eviction? Get an injunction or something? Richard shook his head slowly. Only if you can get a restraining order, which requires proof of immediate harm or threat, or you negotiate a buyout, which requires capital you don't have. Mom twisted her wedding ring, a nervous habit. We'll pay him back. Everything he's owed. We just need time. He'd have to agree to a payment plan. And given what you've told me, I don't think he's in a negotiating mood. Derek rose, walking to the window overlooking the street, his frustration boiling over. So that's it? He just wins. We lose our house. Richard closed the folder, his gaze sweeping across all three of them. This isn't about winning or losing. This is property law. He's a co-owner exercising his legal rights to reclaim occupancy. You signed a contract 7 years ago that gave him those rights. They left the office 20 minutes later, burdened by a $250 bill they couldn't afford and a complete absence of solutions. They arrived home around 6 p.m. Monday evening, exhausted, desperate. The garage door remained stubbornly closed when Dad pressed the visor button. Battery must be drained. Derek tried his remote. Nothing. They used the front door instead, Dad's key grating in the lock, an all-too-familiar sound now tinged with dread. They stepped into a house that felt fundamentally wrong. Cold, dark, silent in a way that screamed abandonment. The thermostat screen was blank. Derek ventured to the basement, manually restarting the furnace, which kicked on with a reluctant groan, protesting its weekend idleness. Dad called the utility company, putting them on speakerphone as they endured a 12-minute hold. I need to set up a new account at this address. The representative, after a moment's typing, replied, It shows this address had an account under Jake Reynolds until Friday evening when it was closed. Did he authorize you to open a new account? Dad's jaw clenched. He's my son. Yes. Okay, sir. We can open a new account in your name. There's a $150 setup fee and first month's payment due up front before we can activate service. Dad, his options dwindling, recited the credit card number, the same one declined at the resort, apparently still possessing just enough limit for utility deposits. Mom tried to turn on the TV, a desperate attempt at distraction. Account no longer active. Please visit Netflix.com to renew your subscription. She closed her eyes, sinking onto the couch. He canceled everything. All of it. Derek slammed a cabinet door in the kitchen, the dishes rattling in protest. This is psychotic. Who does this to their own family? Dad looked at him, his voice flat, bone-weary. No. This is what happens when you push someone too far for too long. They endured Monday night in a cold, internet-less house, eating takeout by lamplight, half the switches failing after the power interruption. Tuesday blurred into a frustrating cycle of phone calls and rejected apartment applications. Wednesday morning arrived, 48 hours gone. Nowhere to go. Derek's apartment, a single bedroom on the 4th floor of an elevator-less building, was barely sufficient for him, let alone 3 people and all their belongings. Hotels at $120 a night, translated to an impossible $3,600 a month. Rental houses demanded first, last, and security, typically $4,500, funds that had once resided in their now-empty emergency account. Mom's sister, in Ohio, offered a spare bedroom, a temporary reprieve, but that meant leaving the state, admitting humiliating defeat to extended family who'd spent years hearing about their success. Wednesday, around 5 p.m., Dad drove to my office. He parked where he could see the main entrance, engine off despite the cold, a silent vigil. At 5:15, precisely as always, I walked out. His Lexus, 3 spaces from mine. He emerged as I was halfway across the parking lot. Please, just tell me what you want. I stopped, turning to face him. I want you to understand what it feels like to be expendable. You're not expendable. You're family. Then why didn't you text me before canceling my reservation? I asked, the words sharp, precise. Why didn't anyone think to give me a heads up before I drove 3 hours and stood in that lobby? Dad's shoulders sagged, defeat etched in his posture. That was Derek's decision. He handled the booking. And you went along with it, didn't you? Just like you always go along with it. Like you went along with borrowing $21,000 and never paying it back. Like you went along with using me as your emergency fund for 7 years without ever saying thank you. We'll pay you back everything. The $72,000 from the house, the loans, all of it. Just give us time. I pulled my keys from my jacket pocket. With what money? The emergency fund I built? Oh, wait. That's gone. Maybe Derek's maxed out credit cards, or Mom's retirement account that just paid for a resort suite. Dad took a hesitant step forward, hands outstretched, as if trying to calm a spooked animal. I'm sorry. I should have stopped Derek. I should have called you before the cancellation went through.
Yeah.
You should have. But you didn't. It's not too late. We can fix this. Actually, it is too late. Thursday morning at 8 a.m. You're out. That's what the notice said. That's what's happening. I got into my car, started the engine, and backed out, leaving Dad standing alone in the parking lot, watching me leave. I didn't think about him standing there, alone in the cold. Thursday morning arrived, cold and piercingly clear. 7:50 a.m. I pulled up to the house I'd helped buy 7 years ago, parking on the street rather than the driveway. The locksmith's van was already there, white with blue lettering, its presence a stark declaration. The man, Mike, late 40s, professional and utterly unbothered by the impending family disintegration, stood on the porch, toolbox at his feet, waiting. You, Jake.
Yeah.
Got the work order and court paperwork. We're good to go whenever you're ready. The front door, as if on cue, opened before I could respond. Dad stood there, in jeans and a sweater, his face a canvas of exhaustion, 3 nights of sleeplessness and mounting stress etched into his features. Can we help you? Mike held up his clipboard. Work order to change the locks. Property owner Jake Reynolds requested service. We're still packing. We need a few more hours. Mike, impassive, showed him the paperwork, the court order, official stamp, case number. Eviction notice was filed Monday. 72 hours expired at 8 a.m. this morning. I have authorization to proceed. Derek emerged from behind Dad, still clutching a coffee mug. You can't do this while we're still inside. Mike merely shrugged, entirely unfazed. Then you folks need to step outside. I'm on a schedule. Got 3 more jobs today. I walked up the driveway, a folder tucked under my arm, stepping onto the porch I'd helped build. Mom appeared in the doorway behind Derek, her face swollen and red from weeping. Jake, please don't do this. We'll leave. Just give us until tonight to find somewhere to go. The notice said 8 a.m. Thursday. It's 8 a.m. Thursday. Derek slammed his mug down on the porch railing, coffee sloshing over the side. You're really going to humiliate us in front of the neighbors? Make a scene out of this. You humiliated me in front of a resort lobby full of strangers. We're even. Mike pulled out his drill, loaded a bit, and began on the front door deadbolt. The sound was deafening, metallic, final. A high-pitched shriek of metal on metal, impossible to ignore. Across the street, their neighbor Carol emerged to get her mail, freezing, staring. 2 houses down, curtains twitched. Dad's voice dropped, raw, with contained fury. We'll fight this in court. Sue you for everything. I pulled another folder from under my arm, handing it to him. Partition lawsuit already filed Tuesday morning. You'll be served next week by a process server. Mom snatched the folder from Dad's hands, scanning the first page. What does this mean? Means the court forces a sale of the house. We split the proceeds based on ownership percentage. You get 80%. I get 20% plus interest, plus my unpaid loans with 7 years of interest calculated at state rates. Dad stared at me, his eyes wide, as if seeing a stranger. You'd force us to sell our house? Where we've lived for 7 years? You forced me off a vacation I paid $960 for without even a text message. Seems proportional. Mike finished drilling out the deadbolt, moved to the handle. 15 minutes of work, a soundtrack to the end of an era. He handed me 3 new keys, gleaming brass catching the morning sun. I pocketed all 3. Mike packed his tools, his gaze briefly sweeping over my parents and Derek, still frozen on the porch. You folks need to remove your belongings by end of business today, or they're considered abandoned property under state law. Derek pulled out his phone, his fingers trembling with a cocktail of rage and fear. This is illegal. I'm calling the police. I looked at him. Go ahead. I have the deed right here. He actually did it. Dialed 911, explaining the situation in clipped, angry sentences to the dispatcher. A patrol car rolled up 10 minutes later, an officer in his 40s emerging slowly, a weary veteran of domestic disputes. What's the issue here? Derek pointed at me, a theatrical flourish. He's illegally evicting us from our house. The officer walked to me, polite but tired. Can I see some identification and property documentation? I handed him my driver's license, the deed, the court-stamped eviction notice, the original co-ownership contract. He read everything carefully, deliberately, then handed it all back. This is a civil property dispute. He's listed as a co-owner on the deed. You'll need to resolve this through the court system. He turned to my parents and Derek. You folks need to vacate the property. He has legal standing. Mom broke down, truly sobbing now, stumbling off the porch to collapse on the ground near the driveway. Derek helped her up, guided her to the Lexus, loaded the suitcases from the front door into the trunk. Dad stood on the porch for another minute, his gaze locked on mine. You were my son?
No. I was your ATM.
There's a difference. He walked to his car and drove away. Derek's truck followed 2 minutes later. The officer waited until they were gone. You need anything else from me?
No, sir.
Thank you. He left. I stood alone on the porch, new keys heavy in my pocket. Walked inside the house that was now entirely mine. Family photos still hung on the walls, ghostly reminders. Their furniture filled every room. The kitchen still held the ghost of Derek's coffee. But it was quiet. No midnight phone calls for money. No last-minute cancellations. No one treating me like furniture, useful only when they needed something to lean on. My phone buzzed. A text from Derek. You destroyed this family. I typed back.
No.
I revealed what it always was. Deleted his contact. Blocked the number. Sat down on the couch and listened to the silence. The foundation they'd been standing on for 7 years had walked away. And I wasn't sorry. Not even a little bit. 2 weeks after the lockout, my phone rang, an unfamiliar number. I answered, curious as to who had breached my new, rigorous screening. Mr. Reynolds, this is Martin Chun with Chun and Associates. I represent your parents and brother in the property dispute matter. Their lawyer. I'm listening. My clients would like to negotiate a buyout of your ownership stake rather than proceed with the partition lawsuit. I leaned back in my office chair, gazing out at the parking lot below. What are they offering? They're prepared to offer $55,000 for your 20% stake. My financial analyst brain clicked, calculating instantly. The house, $360,000 according to the county assessor. 20% is $72,000, plus $21,000 in unpaid loans, with 7 years of interest calculated at state rates. Total, $93,000. Martin paused, shuffling what I imagined were his client's desperate notes. They don't have that kind of liquidity available right now. Then they can refinance the mortgage and pull equity. Or we proceed with the partition lawsuit and force a court-ordered sale. Either way works for me, Mr. Reynolds. Forcing a sale benefits no one. Legal fees alone would eat up. It benefits me. I get my share either way. They're the ones scrambling for housing, living in a hotel they can't afford. Silence on the other end for 3 deliberate seconds. Let me discuss this with my clients and get back to you. You have until Friday. After that, the offer goes up by $500 per day for making me wait. I hung up before he could respond. 3 days passed without a word from Martin. Then my phone buzzed. An unfamiliar number. An area code from 2 counties over.
We need more time.
Dad had to take out a personal loan just to cover the hotel bill. Can you give us 60 days?
Derek.
Texting from a new number after I'd blocked his old one. I deleted it without responding. The next day, another unknown number. Please, Jake, we're staying in a motel off the highway. Just give us 6 months to get back on our feet.
Mom.
Texting from her sister's phone, the Ohio area code a dead giveaway. I typed back, "You gave me 6 minutes of notice before boarding that resort. I'm giving you 6 weeks to figure it out. That's more than fair." Blocked the number. A week later, Dad appeared in my office parking lot again. Same spot. Same Lexus, now looking even more neglected. Same desperate energy radiating from him when I walked out at 5:15. "We'll pay you $70,000. We got approved for a refinance." I stopped next to my car, keys already in hand. $72,000 plus the $21,000 in loans. $93,000 total. Non-negotiable. We can't get approved for that much with our credit scores after missing payments. The bank said $70,000 is the max. That's not my problem. You had 7 years to pay me back before any of this started. He stepped closer, desperation making him bold. "So that's it? You're really going to force us to sell the house? Make us homeless if that's what it takes to get what I'm legally owed?" "Yes." I got in my car, started the engine, and backed out, leaving him standing there watching. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. A month later, I took a week off work, booked the same resort, same Suite 304, same dates as the original, fateful trip. I drove up Friday afternoon, my duffel in the passenger seat, music playing, a profound sense of calm washing over me. No stress about who was meeting me, no anxiety about last-minute cancellations. The front desk agent smiled genuinely when I walked in. "Welcome back, Mr. Reynolds. We've upgraded you to the premium balcony view at no additional charge." The manager appeared from the back office, the same man who'd escorted me to collect my bag. "Good to see you again. I hope this day is more enjoyable than the last one." "Already is." Suite 304 was exactly as Derek's Instagram photos had shown that first night. Stone fireplace, floor-to-ceiling windows, rich leather furniture, the balcony hot tub steaming gently into the mountain air. I unpacked slowly, deliberately, then opened a beer and sat on the balcony, watching the sunset paint the mountains in fiery oranges and purples. I pulled out my phone, opened Instagram, and switched my account from private to public. Took a photo of the view, the hot tub in the foreground, mountains a majestic backdrop, a beer bottle resting on the railing. Caption: "Sometimes you have to cancel the wrong people to confirm the right reservations." Posted it. Didn't tag anyone.
Didn't need to.
2 hours later, my phone buzzed. Derek's best friend, Marcus, had liked the post. Then his girlfriend's roommate. Then 3 people from Derek's gym. Word traveled fast in their insular social circles. Over the next week, I posted casually. Day 2. Breakfast on the balcony, coffee and pastries, no one to split the bill with. Day 3. Hiking trail selfie, mountain peaks behind me, peaceful when no one cancels your plans. Day 4. Dinner, steak and wine, table for one, just how I like it. Passive-aggressive? Perhaps. Effective? Absolutely. Derek's girlfriend, Sarah, whom I'd met twice at family dinners years ago, apparently saw the posts. She texted Derek, according to a mutual friend who recounted the story later. "Why is your brother posting cryptic stuff about you guys?" Derek tried to dismiss it as complicated family drama. Nothing serious. Sarah, as any curious girlfriend would, started asking around, talking to mutual friends. She heard about the resort cancellation, the eviction, the lawsuit. 3 days later, she confronted Derek. "You evicted your parents over vacation?" "He evicted us. It's his fault for overreacting. You canceled his trip without telling him. I saw the text screenshot." "Nothing new for you. Who showed you that?" "Doesn't matter. That's cruel, Derek. That's not the person you told me you were." A week later, Sarah broke up with him. Derek texted me from yet another new number. "You cost me my relationship." I replied before blocking. "No, you did that yourself." 6 weeks after the lockout, Martin, the lawyer, called again. "My clients have agreed to settle. $68,000 for the buyout, plus $15,000 for the loans. $83,000 total." Accepted. Draft the paperwork. They refinanced the house, pulled equity, cleared out my old bedroom, which had become a repository for their forgotten junk, and mailed me a cashier's check. I deposited it without confirming receipt. My parents sent one final text from Dad's phone. "We hope you're happy now." I stared at it for 30 seconds. Typed, "I am."
Sent it.
Blocked the number. 3 months later, I ran into Sarah Miller at the grocery store, a different Sarah, the neighbor who used to live 2 houses down, not Derek's ex-girlfriend. She was loading groceries into her trunk when she saw me.
Jake.
"Haven't seen you in forever. How are you?"
Good.
"Can't complain." "Hey, weird question, but your parents ask about you. Sometimes when I see them at church." I stopped pushing my cart. "What do they say?" "They want to know if you'll ever come back. Like, reconcile, or whatever." "What did you tell them?" Sarah shifted her weight, clearly uncomfortable in the middle of this fractured history. "I said I'd ask if I ever saw you." "Tell them no." "That's pretty final." "It is." She nodded slowly, discerning something in my face that warned against further probing.
Okay.
"Take care, Jake." "You too." I drove home, not thinking about it again. 6 months after the lockout, I received a LinkedIn message from Derek. He'd moved to Arizona for work, apparently. A new job in Phoenix, a fresh start, far from the city where his failures were now legend. The message was 3 paragraphs long. He claimed he understood now why I did what I did. He was sorry for how things went down. He said family should mean more than money and maybe we could talk sometime. I read it twice, then deleted it without responding. Because he still didn't get it. This was never about the money. It was about being treated like I mattered, like I was an integral part of the family, instead of just the bank they borrowed from when things got tight. The moment they canceled my reservation without a word, they showed me exactly what I was worth to them. Nothing. So, I canceled them back. Permanently. People ask sometimes if I'm lonely now. Friends who knew my family, coworkers who heard fragmented pieces of the story, dates who wonder why I never mention parents or siblings. I tell them no. Loneliness isn't being alone. Loneliness is sitting in a car, watching your family board a plane without looking back. It's being called at 2 a.m. for money, but never receiving a birthday text. It's building a safety net for 7 years and having them cut you out the second it became convenient. Freedom is realizing you don't need them. Knowing that the only person who can cancel your plans now is you.